Let me see how many will be able to score that question. How many will be able to get it right? This is all of IGCSE Mathematics P1H rather. I've been doing pure math until I'm even forgetting that this is IGCSE. This is IGCSE paper 1H. So if you are taking IGCSE paper 1 on Thursday, this is the time to stay put and keep on watching this. Remember to leave a comment. Remember to leave a comment on that so that we can know whether you are enjoying the lesson. So did you get the answer after factorizing that? Right? And what about simplifying this? P squared plus 3 raised to power 0. So something that you need to realize, anytime you have any number raised to power 0 is basically 1. Yeah, so if you are going to see such a question, remember any number raised to power 0 is basically 1. So we also have this question here, and the question says that we are supposed to solve 3 into 3x minus 5 is equals to 9 minus x. Yeah, there is a lot of background noise. We have to bear with that. That guy is trying to come here so that he can be able to learn IGCSE Math with you guys. So let's just focus on that. So we are having an equation here we are supposed to solve. So the first thing that I decided to do is to multiply all through by 2 so that I can get rid of this fraction that I have here. So if I multiply all through by 2, and you can see I multiplied here, this and this will cancel out, so that I'm going to have 6 into 2x minus 5 is equals to 9 minus x. So if I open the bracket, in this case I'm going to get 12x minus 30, and that's going to be equal to 9 minus x. The next part is putting the like terms together. Like terms. At this point, like terms, we shall say 12x plus x, because if this moves on the other side of the equal sign, it becomes what? It becomes positive. Always, those are the mistakes that students make during exams, and then they forget to change the sign when they are moving numbers over the equal sign. So whenever you're going to do the exam, make sure that you remember you'll be in a position to convert, to remember to change the signs when you take over the equal sign. So once we have that, we are going to have 13 is equals to 39, and you can see 13 divided both sides, we are going to have the value of x is equals to 3. X is 3 in that particular equation. So you'll be given questions whereby you are supposed to factorize, you are supposed to make subject, you are supposed to solve quadratic equations, solving quadratic equation. Also, I need to say, if you are told to factorize this, we need two numbers whose product is what? Product is negative 30, and the sum of the two numbers is basically negative 1. The product of the two numbers is negative 30, but the sum is negative 1. The two numbers are 5 and 6, and for us to have a negative 1 when there is a sum, we are going to put this number to be negative. So at that given point, we can be able to write the middle term in terms of the two numbers the way I did, and then I grouped these together so that I could be able to factorize. Factorizing that, we get 6y plus 5 into y minus 1. So something I need to mention at this point, you may be asked this question like that, but also the way this question can be asked is that it can be having part. You may find that this question is having this as a Roman 1, and then the examiner can decide to give you Roman 2. And how is this examiner going to ask Roman 2? Well, it's going to say solve y squared minus y minus 5 is equals to 0. Is equals to 0. So since you have factorized already that part here, you are going to take the factorized form and equate it to 0. So you are going to take 6y plus 5 into y minus 1 is equals to 0. So which will mean that 6y plus 5 is equals to 0. Then from here we can see y is going to be equals to minus 5 over 6, or y minus 1 is equals to 0, and then it will mean that y is equals to 1. So this question will be asked in two ways. They will tell you to factorize, and then they will tell you now the factorized form or the equation that you have factorized in the previous section. They will expect you to solve an equation with that. So which means the way to do it is to equate the factorized form to 0, and then you proceed to find the value of the unknown there, either x or y. Another question that is going to be tested is the question to do with making subject of the formula. And to do that, we have to ensure that we shall multiply this part both sides, and you can see it cancelled here. We shall open this bracket, will be 8 times w. It will be 8w minus wf. Since we are making f the subject of the formula, we are going to put those terms with f on one side. So you can see I'm having 2f plus 3. Then at this particular point here, we can factor out f because f is common here and f is common, and that gave us this particular step at this given point. So once we have gotten that, we are going now to divide 2 plus w both sides, so that we are going to remain with f because we want to make f the subject, and our f becomes 8w minus 3 over 2 plus w as the final answer. Expressing that is completing the square. Completing the square is another area that is possibly going to be asked, and which will mean that in order to work out this, we are going to group this guy together here, these two, and then we factor out 4. If you factor out 4, you are going to remain with x squared plus minus 2x, and then now we are going to complete the square of that particular part that we have. To complete the square of this part, we are going to say x minus 1. Where are we getting 1 from? You shall take a half of this number that we have here. So you shall take a half of this number is 1, so you shall say x minus 1, close the bracket, square. Then you shall subtract the square of this number that is inside here. Subtract the square of this number, and that's going to be basically 1. If you square 1, it's going to be 1. So once you've done that, you shall open the bracket by multiplying 4 times the whole of this and 4 times 1 that we have here, which is going to give us 4 into x minus 1 into x squared minus 4 plus 7. So if we combine these two, we shall have our answers 3, and this is the final answer we were to get at that point. So you'll find question asking you to use the completed square form to state the turning point, stationary point. Of course, you are going to take the opposite sign of this number that is inside here to be the x coordinate, and this number that we are having here is going to be the y coordinate of that stationary point, but we are going to see that in a short while. Also, you need to know at this level, you need to know expressing fractions as a single fraction. So you are going to find what the LCM of these two numbers, 4 and 6x. The LCM is 12, because 4 can go to 12 and 6x can go to 12x, right? So which number do you need to multiply 4 by to get 12x? That will be 3. So this is going to be 3x. 3x times 9 times 3 is going to give us 9x. And which number do you need to multiply by 6x to get 12x? That number is 2. So that's why we are having 2 at this given point. So if you open the bracket, we are going to get this, putting the like terms together, 9x minus 2x going to give us 7x, and this is going to be 10, and our final answer becomes 7x plus 10. We leave our answer like that as a single fraction. So these are the areas, these are the main areas that will be tested as far as IGCSE Math Paper 1H is concerned. So make sure that you understand how to work out such questions. We need also to look at, you need to know how to find area of a sector. And of course, you know that this is the angle that is making this particular sector. And the formula for area of a sector is given by theta over 360 times pi times r squared. Then for us to do that, we are going to substitute 110 over 360 times pi times 7.1, which is the radius for that sector, 7.1 squared. And if you work it out, you are going to get your answer as 848.4 in that case. And don't forget that also they can ask you to work out perimeter of a sector, perimeter of a sector. And remember, perimeter of a sector, first we must work out this arc length. We should be able to get the arc length here. If we are finding perimeter, then we can be able to add this distance round. So in this case, arc length is given by theta over 360 times 2 pi r. So substituting the angle that we are given here, the angle basically here is 50. So we shall say 50 over 360 times 2 times pi times the radius, which is 7. If you work it out, you are going to get 6.1 centimeters. And if you are asked to get the perimeter, of course, perimeter will be the arc length plus this radius plus this radius. And now the formula for perimeter becomes arc length plus 2 times the radius. If you work it out, you are gonna get your answer being equivalent to 20.1 centimeters. Also, something that I need to mention at this point is that in the event they ask you, they give you maybe a shape like this, and you are supposed to find the area of the shaded part, here. It will mean that first you have to work out the area of the sector. And if this is the sector of 30 degrees and radius of 6 centimeters, it means first you need to work out the area of the sector. Then you will work out the area of the triangle here. Area of the triangle here is going to be a half AB sine theta. You can be able to find the area of this triangle here, a half AB sine theta. Then area of a sector, you subtract the area of the triangle using this formula, right? Moving to question number 7, so that we can see which other question that is likely to be tested. You may be tested to find area of a triangle. Here we are told that the figure shows an isosceles triangle, which is having 17 centimeters by 17 centimeters and 28. So for you to work out this area, first you need to know what the height of that triangle is. And remember, we can be able to use Pythagoras theorem in order to find the height of this triangle. And to do that, we're going to say height squared plus 14 squared. Why 14? From here to here, from this point to C, is a half the entire distance BC. So this was 28, so this will be 14, and this other part is going to be 14. So we can be able to consider this triangle that we have, right angle triangle that we have here, so that we can be able to use what? Pythagoras theorem in order to work out. And if you work it out the height properly, the height is going to be 10.5. So once you have the height 10.5, you are going to say area of a triangle is a half base times height. And the base, of course, we're going to use the base, which is 28 in this case. And the height is the 10.5 we have gotten. Working it out, you are going to get 147 as the answer for that case. Moving on, let's imagine. We need to 147 as the area. The next part is also finding area of compound shapes. Finding area of compound shapes is another area that is likely to be tested. And you can see here, this is a compound shape that includes a semicircle and a right angle triangle, whereby we need to know the diameter of the semicircle, and the diameter is going to be the hypotenuse of this triangle. So which means we can use Pythagoras theorem in order to find AC, and AC is going to be 8.5, because 6 squared plus 6 squared, we find the square root, we are going to get the diameter to be that. So, and something else that you need to remember, we need to work out area of the semicircle. Will be, of course, if the diameter is 8.5, then the radius will be from here to that point, so which is going to be 4.25. The area of the shape would be the area of the semicircle, which is a half pi r squared, plus area of the triangle that we have down here, which is a half base times height. Then if we combine the two, we are going to get the area of the circle being 28.4, and I'm saying over 2 because this is a semicircle, because we know area of a circle is pi r squared. So since it's a semicircle, we can be able to find the area of a circle, then we divide it by 2. So we get the area of a semicircle that. And the area of a triangle is a half base times height, and in that case you can see this is a right angle triangle 6 by 6, so this is going to give us a half times 6 times 6 is going to be 18, and for us to find the area, it will be the total area, which is 46.4. Another possible question that is going to be asked in this paper is arithmetic sequence and series. AP arithmetic sequence and series. Maybe you are given a list of some of the numbers in a sequence, and then you are supposed to work out the sum of numbers, or you are supposed to find the nth term. So in this particular case, you can see here we are having a list of terms. The first term is 8, followed by 15, 22, 29, and 36. So what does that mean? That means that we can be able to get the first term. The first term is 8. Common difference, from 8 to 15 you need to add 7, from 15 to 22 you need to add 7, you need to add 7. So the common difference is 7. So work out the sum of all terms from the 50th term to the 100th term. So in order to work out a question like this, I will definitely find the sum of the first 100 terms, the sum of the first 100 terms, and the sum of n terms is going to be given by what? Is given by this formula, n over 2 into n minus 1 into d. Then if I substitute that, because I have my first term in this case here as 8, I am multiplied by 2 because of the formula. 100 minus 1 times 7, my answer becomes 35,450. I need also to find the sum from 1 all the way to 49. Then that also gives me 8,624. So the sum between the 50th to the 100th term is going to be this value I've gotten, sum from 1 to 100 minus sum from 1 to 49. So that we are going to get our answers 26, 826 as the sum from the 50th term to the 100th term. Question number 10 is the question that I left out here so that you can be able to work it out and leave the answer in the comment section to see whether you've understood how I've worked out the previous question, so that you can be able also to work out question number 10. If you can be able to get that, I'll be glad that you've learned how to work it out. Number 10, work it out and write in the comment section. Yeah, so check if your answer, you will find the sum of the first 100 terms minus the sum of the first 40 terms. Then comment in the comment section, leave a comment in the comment section whether you were able to get that. The next question is finding upper and lower bounds of a given formula. That's another question that is likely to be tested, and in this case we're supposed to work out the upper bound of p. For us to get the upper bound of p, we must take 2 times the upper bound of a minus c, the lower bound of that, the lower bound of c, over the small number which is the lower bound of d. And since we are having these 3 significant figures, this is going to be 58.45 as the upper bound. Lower bound of c is going to be 19.5, and the lower bound of d is going to be 3.55. If you work it out, you'll get your answer correct to 2 decimal places, and the answer correct to 2 decimal places is going to be 27.44. For 2.44, correct to 2 decimal places. That is how we shall leave our answer. You need also to know how to work out question in standard form. Question to do with surds. And of course, to rationalize the denominator, you need to multiply by the conjugate both sides. If you multiply that, this is going to reduce to 12 root 2 plus 12. Then we are having root 2 raised to power 5. It's like multiplying root 2 5 times. And if you do that, you are going to get your answer as 4 root 2. Then, because we were to rationalize that and add this result, so the answer to this plus the answer to this, we check whether it's going to give us that. So we shall have 8 root 2 plus 12, which basically can be written in this format as the final answer in that case. Question number 13. Now we are moving to calculus differentiation. The diagram shows a sketch of a curve with the equation x squared minus px, where p is a positive constant. p is a positive constant. That is the graph that we have. So with this graph, what are we supposed to do? For all values of p, the curve has exactly one turning point, and this is the turning point, and this turning point is the minimum as shown as point T. Yeah, so this is the minimum point, turning point. So in order to look for turning point and the stationary point of curves, you need to differentiate this function that you have here. And once you have differentiated, you equate that differentiated function or that gradient function to 0. So you see, if we differentiate this, we take the power down and it decrease the power by 1. So it will be 2x. This one is going to be taken down to be positive p, because if you take this -1 down times negative p is going to give you positive p x raised to power -2, because we have to subtract 1 here whenever we are working out the differentiation. So taking this expression equating to 0, we are going to have 2x plus p x raised to power -2 is equals to 0. And of course, we can rewrite this equation by taking it down. It becomes a positive. Multiply all through by x squared. We are going to get x squared times x squared times x squared times x squared. This term is going to give us 2x cubed plus p is equals to 0. And then we shall have our p is equivalent to -2x cubed. But we were told at point p, x at point t, at this point t, x is equals to -3. So we need to substitute there, and our value of p in this case becomes 54. Now with this value of 54 that we have, we can now proceed to the next part. The line with the equation y equals to k is tangent to the curve with the equation y equals to x squared minus 16 over x. So which will mean that y is equals to x squared minus 16 can be written in this format. We can take this x up, it becomes -1 here. So we can now work out the y dx so that we can be able to find the gradient function. So doing the y dx in this case, we are going to have 2 coming down here. Then the power decreases by 1, we shall have 2x, and this -1 will come down, it becomes positive 16, x raised to power -2. So we equate that equals to 0. Yeah? Why are we equating to 0 at that point? Why are we equating to 0? It's because the equation we are told is a tangent and a curve. If we are talking of a curve like that, and then you have a tangent to that curve at that point, if it's a tangent, it means they have the same gradient. The gradient of the line and the gradient of the curve, if it's a tangent, they are equal. But if you can look at this equation that we are given here in the form y is equals to mx plus c, basically it doesn't have the x part. It's y is equals to 0x plus k. So which means the gradient of this tangent line is 0, so the gradient of this curve also at that point where it's tangent is also 0. So that's why I equated that point here. So if I equate it, I'm going to try to work it out, and I'll multiply both sides by x squared, and you can see now I'm going to have 2x cubed plus 16 is equals to 0. So with this part that I have here, I can take 16 on the other side and divide by 2. That's going to remain with 2b. This is going to remain to be x cubed is equals to minus 8. If I find the cube root both sides, my x is going to translate to -2. Then if I want to find the value of k, I need to find the value of y from here, so that I can be able to know what k is, because if I have y, I can be able to say that value equals to k. But to get that, I need to substitute the value of x that I've gotten into the original equation here, so that I can get y, and the y is going to be that value. So that's going to be 12 in that case. And basically that's what you are supposed to do in that question. Number 14 is a question to do with the kinematics, and we are told here that there are two particles. There are two particles, yeah, P and Q, which are moving along a straight line. The fixed point O lies on this line. Displacement of P from O at the time t is s in meters given here. The displacement of Q from O at time t is x meters, where we have x in this particular format. Find the range of values of t where t is greater than 1, t is greater than 1, yeah, t is greater than 1, for which both particles are moving in the same direction. So first we are going to differentiate the first one and also differentiate the second expression, so that we can be able to solve for both. So we are going to have the first part differentiated, which shall have this one differentiated. If we differentiate this, we are going to take 2 down, so it will be 2t minus 4. We equate that to 0, and also we differentiate this expression. Yeah, so that we can be able to, if you differentiate this, it becomes 3t squared minus 8t plus 5, and we say also is equals to 0, so that we can be able to solve. Solving this quadratic equation, we shall get t is equals to 5 over 3, or t is equals to 1. Now, for both to be in the same direction, along the same direction, it's only when we have t is greater than 2, t is greater than 1, or t is less than 5 over 3 in that case. Question 15 also is a question from calculus differentiation. Find dy dx. For that, that's exactly, we've been doing that. So you bring the power down, decrease it by 1, so it will be 3x raised to power 2 minus 4x, and that becomes 9, and that become our answer. Find the range of values for x for which t has a positive gradient. So if for each this has a positive gradient, you will take that gradient function that you have gotten, you equate it to 0, and then you solve for you to get the principal values. Our principal values for solving that equation are these. For it to have a positive gradient, it means it should be above the number line, yeah. So the part that will have positive is this part of the curve is above the x-axis. So which means the value of x that satisfy that are values to this direction and values to this lower direction. That's why you can see my answer I've written x is less than negative 1.9, or these values in this direction, or x is greater than 2.52 in that manner. Yeah, but if the question was expecting you to find gradient or to define this region below here, the way you are to write your answer is you are to write your answer as x is greater than negative 1.19 less than 2.52 for this region that we have there. But in this case, we are not interested with that. You are not supposed to work out that. We are only interested above the line, which is going to give us the positive gradient. So once we've understood that, another topic that is going to be tested is circle theorem. Now, if we were given, basically we were given this angles in alternate segment, this angle is 71. So this line that you can see here, it wasn't there. This line here, this line was not there. I'm the one who decided to draw it so that I can be able to have angles in alternate segment. So which means that this angle is also 71. This angle 71 is in alternate segment with this one. Now, since we are having these lines here, it means this is an isosceles triangle. So meaning base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. This 71, this also is going to be 71. So it will enable me to work angle A. So with angle A, I'm going to use angles in a triangle add up to 180. And that's how I got 38 degrees. Then since the question was asking us to work out angle C here, since we were supposed to work out angle C, and the only way we can be able to get this angle is using opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral. And these opposite angles, of course, we have gotten this as 38. So which means this 38 plus x is going to give us what? 180. So we are going to use the properties of angles in a cyclic quadrilateral, add up to 180, and this is going to be 180 minus 38, which is going to give us 142. And you are supposed to state the reason for each case there. I remember I mentioned that sometimes you'll be given a question on completing the square, and then you are supposed to state the stationary point or the turning point. And you can see here we are given that, so you'll factor out the common term here. We shall factor out 3. In this case, I've factored out 3. Then I'm going to complete the square of whatever we have inside the bracket. To complete that, I'll introduce bracket and say x minus a half of this number is 2. So I'll say x into minus a half of this number 2 minus the square of this number that I'm having here is going to be 4. So minus 4, which is the square of this number at that point. Then whenever you are going to open the bracket, remember there is a 3 here, which is going to be multiplied to everything that we have there, and is going to be multiplied to this number that we have there. So that we shall have minus 3 times this is going to be this one, and minus 3 times minus 4 is going to give us positive 12. And when you combine, you shall get 19 minus 3 into x minus 2 squared. And that is it. Now, this curve of the equation, which we have completed the square here, yeah, has a maximum point, and the maximum point is A. You are supposed to use your answer in A to write down the coordinates. So whenever you are given a question like that, this number that we have inside here, inside the bracket where you have the square, is going to give you the x coordinate, and you take the opposite sign of that number. The number outside here is going to give us the y coordinate. So the coordinate of A is 2, 19. You'll be given composite function, question to do with composite. Composite and inverse functions. So that is another area that will be tested in 1H. So make sure you go through that area before you sit for the exam. There is high likelihood for a question like that to be tested. So we are given to function f of x, which is 5x squared minus 10 plus 7, and g of x is 7x minus 6, where x is greater than or equals to 1, which this is called the domain. So we can be able to use this to state the range of that. So which means we are supposed to find fg of 2. The first thing you do is finding g of 2. G of 2, it means you are going to substitute 2 anywhere you have x in the function g. So g of 2 is going to be 7 times 2, which is 14, minus 6, and that's going to give us 8. So g of 2 is 8. The whole of this can be replaced with 8. So we're going to say f of 8, because g of 2 is what? 8. Then means that anywhere we have x in the function f, we are going to substitute what? We are going to substitute 8. And if you work it out, you are going to get what? You will get your answer as 247. 247 as the final answer in that case. Then we are supposed to work out the inverse of that function also. Inverse of the function. Inverse of the function. Okay, so we need to find the inverse. Now for you to find the inverse of the function f of x, our function f of x is this. So the first thing, we need to change f of x to y, and upon changing that, we shall have this. Then I'll want you to make this part subject, you complete the square of that. And of course, we are going to group these guys together. We factor out 5, and then once we have factored it, just completing the square, you guys, is not really hard. I want you to just master the steps. You will group those terms which have x, like this one here. Now once you have grouped them together like that, you see we shall factor out the integer or the constant term. We are not going to touch the x. You are not going to factor x out. No, you're going to factor out the constant, so that we are going to remain with x squared minus 2x. Then we are going to complete the square of this. How do you do it? You are going to open the bracket, you write x minus a half of this number 2. We have here, half of 2 is 1, right? Square. Then once you have closed and you have squared like that, subtract the square of this number. Even if it's a negative or a positive, you are always going to subtract. Even if the number inside here is a positive or a negative, you are going always to subtract the square of this number, so that we are going to get it what? 1 squared will be just 1. And once you have gotten that, you are going to open the bracket. Of course, the whole of this 5 will be multiplied to the whole of this term, which is going to be 5 into x minus 1 squared. And again, that 5 is going to be multiplied to this number 1 that we have here. Don't forget that. That's going to be minus 5. If we put the like terms together, we're going to have y equals to that. Then now we're going to switch x and y. Where you have x, you write y. Where you have y, you write x. So this is going to be x into 5 into y minus 1 squared plus 2. And basically, when you have that, we are going now to make y the subject of the formula. So to make y the subject, we are going to rearrange, and then we shall have y is equals to 1 plus or minus. Now we have to decide which sign we are going to go for. And the sign now, what will enable us decide the sign we are going to go for. You cannot have a function that is having 2 signs. No, a function is a one-to-one function. So you are going to take, this is the domain. Now if the domain is x is greater than 1, then the range of the inverse function is going to be y is greater than or equals to 1. So which means our function should be y greater than 1. So if this is just plus or minus, plus is the one that is going to give us greater than or equals to 1. So that's why you can see our range is going to be y is greater than 1, so we shall go for a positive sign, so that if you are having 1 here, you must add something so that this y is greater than something, and our answer now reduces to this, and that becomes our inverse function. We are talking about compound interest. Compound interest is also I think this is one of the good handwriting, compound interest. Yeah, compound interest is another area that we are going to use, whereby you must know how to apply the formula amount is equals to principal into 1 plus r over 100 raised to power n. You must know how to use this formula before you sit for that exam, because this question can be asked. So we are told that Max invests $6,000 in a savings account for 3 years. The account pays a compound interest of rates 1.5 per annum per year for 2 years. So meaning for the first 2 years, which amount that principal going to accrue for 2 years is the amount that will be in the account will be 6181.4. That will be the amount that will be in the account. So for the third year, whatever amount that we are having from the 2 years is going to be the principal for the third year, and we don't know the rate for that case. Then after the 3 years, this is the total amount that will be in the bank. So we are going to divide both sides by 6181.4 so that we can say 1 plus r over 100 is equals to that. Then we shall take this 1 on the other side, we subtract, we end up having this times 100 both sides. The rate is going to be 1.1%. So you need to know how to use this particular formula so that whenever you are going to be asked any question about appreciation, depreciation, you will be able to work it out. If it's a depreciation value or commodity, a commodity of a given product decreasing, you are going to use minus in this particular case. I believe you are getting value from ProfLearn YouTube channel, and if you do, please, you need to subscribe and also share this video to your friend, encouraging them to join. Noble Prince, I can see you have left a comment in the chat section. Noble Prince, I can say that this paper, this prediction paper that I've done here can be used for both IGCSE Edexcel students and also those who are doing regionals for RE papers. So you can also use it as a way of reviewing and preparing for that exam. So Noble Prince, just feel free to continue watching, because this also can enable you to revise for your 1HR. Now we have ABC. The figure is similar of a quadrilateral, and we're supposed to work out the length of GH. So we're going to use similarity, and we're going to say if I'm finding GH, I'll just call this GHX. So I'll say x over the similar side, which is 4, should be equals to 6 over 9.6. You see, I know 6 and I know 9.6. Those are corresponding sides, and this x is corresponding to 4 here. So if I work it out like that, I'm going to get my answers 2.5. For BC, for I to find BC, BC correspond to 5.7. So I'll say y over 5.7 is equals to 9.6 over 6. And basically, if I work it out, I'm going to get my answers 9.12 as the answer in that case. Moving down, the other question that you need to know, or the other area that you need to know how to work it out, is the area to do with using cosine rule and sine rule. And in this case, first I need to find AC, because we are supposed to find the value of this angle X that we are having here. So for us to find angle X first, I'll want to find AC. My AC is this side that we have here. I need to find this side, and to use it, I'm going to use cosine rule, and I'll say AC squared is equals to 4.1 squared plus 5.3 squared minus 2 times 4.1 times 5.3 cos 100 here. Then if you work it out, you are going to get AC is equals to the square root of 59.6. 59.6. If you put this in the calculator, square root of 59.6, and the answer for that becomes 7.73. And once now we have 7.73, you can see we have all the sides, only we are missing the angle. So we are going to use sine rule at that point. So we are going to say sine x over the opposite sign, the corresponding opposite side is 5.3. So it will be sine x over 5.3 should be equals to sine b over 7.73. So I worked it out here, and I was able to get my x to be 40.1 degrees. 40.1 degrees. All right, if you are getting value, leave a comment below so that we can be able to know that you benefited. Now, you need also to understand question to do with cumulative frequency curves. This question can be asked in paper 1 or paper 2. So if you do paper 1 and you find a cumulative frequency curve, then you know there will be a histogram in paper 2. So this one is going to be either in paper 1 or paper 2. So if you do, you go to the exam, you find a histogram in paper 1, revise for frequency curves in paper 2. Whenever you have a cumulative frequency curve like this, something that you need to remember is that if this is the maximum, the total cumulative frequency 80, then 40 is going to be the median. You go across and you read the value down here, your median is going to be this value down here, right? If you want to find the lower quartile, is a half of 40, is going to be 20. So the lower quartile is going to be 38, which I've gotten here. And if you need the upper quartile, is 75% of 80, or 3 over 4 times 80, which is going to be 60. You go across where you meet the graph here, you read down here, and that's going to be 56. So that whenever you are asked about the interquartile range, it will be the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, which is going to be 56 minus 38, and that's going to be 18. That is the interquartile range. So we are told that 60% of the men took 50 minutes or less for the race. No woman took 50 minutes or less for the race. So meaning that we need to go 50 minutes. You go to 50 minutes here, you go up and check the graph here, you read on this other end. So if you go, you read like that, this is going to be 42. Yeah, so 42 men at that point, and 42 is equals to 60%, because we are told 60 took 50 minutes. 50 minutes is corresponding to 42, so we can say 42 is equals to 6%, what about 100%, so that we can be able to get the total number of men who took part in the race, and that is going to be 70 men who took part in the race. Remember, you will be asked also a question to do with inverse and direct proportion, and in this case here I've taken you through a question to do with inverse proportion. F is inversely proportional to the square of R. So we can say F is inversely proportional to R squared. So in that case, to remove the sign of proportionality, we are going to introduce a constant and say this is going to be K over R squared, and that is exactly what I did here. Then we are given F is 36, R is 4, then we are going to substitute so that we can be able to get the value of K. And if you work out the value of K is going to be 576. So the equation is F is equal to 576 over R squared. Now, if you are told in an exam now, find R when F is 100. Can you write the answer in the comment section so that I can mark for you? I'll mark. Yeah, I'm going to mark. Write your answer in the comment section. I'm going to mark. If you answer correct, I will award you the bonus marks, method marks, and answer mark. So go and work it out. Right? I'm going to check and read each and everyone's comment. Work out the value of F when R is 48. So meaning we are going to use the equation that we got from the previous part, and then 576 over 48 squared, and that's going to be a quarter, which is 0.25. So that is one way a question can be asked, and you can be asked about question on straight lines. If you are asked the gradient of an equation of a straight line, means you have to arrange those equations so that you have it in the form y equals to mx plus c. Once you have in the form y equals mx plus c, then you can see that this part that we have here is the gradient, and this part that we have here is the y-intercept. So we have the gradient as 7 minus 7 over 2 in that case. Find the coordinate of the point where L crosses the y-axis. The line L is this line that we are having here, where it crosses the y-axis, but something that you need to remember, at the y-axis x is 0. So you will take this equation that we have, where you have x, you put 0, and then y is going to be equals to 5, and the coordinate now can be written 0, 5, because the x coordinate is 0 and the y coordinate is 5. So the coordinate will be 0, 5, like that. Further, you can be given a question whereby you are told that a point on the curve with the equation this, where the gradient is 10, the straight line, Q passes through the point G and is perpendicular to the tangent at G. So meaning, if we are talking of the curve here, and then we have this point as if we have this point as the point G, and we have a line Q which is perpendicular to the curve, so there are a few things we need to consider. And one of it is, we are going to differentiate, we do dy dx, then we get 16x minus 4. Because we were told that the gradient of the curve is 10 at that point, we shall equate this gradient function to 10. That will enable us to find the value of x, and we shall get our x to be 1.5. To find the value of y for G, we are going to substitute the value of x, which is 1.5, in this equation that we have, so that we can be able to know what value of y is here. If you work it out, 8 into 1.5 squared minus 14 into 1.5, that's going to give us -9, and that becomes the coordinate for G. Now we are asked to find the equation of line Q, which is perpendicular to this tangent. Now something that we need to remember is that the gradient of Q, of a line Q, is going to be -1/10, because if you take gradient of a line Q and the gradient of tangent, you multiply them, you get -1. So if the gradient is 1, it means that this is going to be -1/10, and we can now be able to say y equals to mx plus c for Q. Then we shall have -9, which is the value of y, minus 1/10 into 1.5, and the value of c there is going to be -177/20. So we can substitute the gradient and the value of c we have gotten here, so that if you multiply all through by 20, we are going to get 20y is equals to -2x minus 177. And now this becomes the equation of the line in the form that we were asked to give our answer here. So don't forget, always check the format you are told to give your answer to. Almost done. We need to look also at the histogram. I mentioned that if you are asked to find the equation of to answer question to do with cumulative frequency curve, then there will be a histogram in the other paper. So basically, I'm foreseeing in paper 1 you will have a histogram, and paper 2 you will have a cumulative frequency curve. Just come back and leave a comment whether that is the case, and that's what happened. So we were given different values, but this one is how to find mean of grouped data, mean of grouped data. So that is another area that you'll be asked. So for you to find the mean, you need to find the midpoint, or the median of this class. So it will be 30 plus 36 divided by 2 will give you 33. 36 plus 42 divided by 2 will give you 39, and so on. You do for all the terms. Then you work out fx. 4 times 33 will give you 132. 14 times 39 will give you 546. And 18 times 45, 810. 19 times 51 will give you 969. 5 times 57 will give you 285. We were supposed to write out the model class before working out the mean. The model class is a class with the highest frequency, and the class with the highest frequency is what? Is 9, that is 48 to 54. I need to change that. 48 to 54. I think I made a mistake there, so just bear with me, guys. So model class is a class with the highest frequency, and this is our class with the highest frequency in that case. The next part is to work out the mean. To work out the mean, you need to add all these values we have here, divide by the sum of everything that we have here, which is if you add all this, we're going to get 60. So that is going to be summation of f of x over summation of f. Sum of f of x divided by the sum of f here, and that's going to be 45.7 as the answer in that case. Next 27 is the question to do with histogram. And the key areas that you need to remember is that frequency density is frequency divided by the class size. So if we want to know the frequency density for this, the class size here is 10. 10 minus 0 will be 10. That's the class size. And the frequency is 40. So frequency density will be 40 over 10, which is going to be 4. So if you can go for the first bar here that we have here, it was already there, it was given in this paper. So it will enable you know that this is 4. It will enable you to know the scale. We have gotten the frequency density for this so that we can know what is this. If this is 4, then it means we can be able to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is going to enable us to know the missing parts. Now, we were supposed to state the frequencies of each, and also you need to, from if frequency density is the frequency of a class size, it also means that it will also mean that frequency is equals to frequency density times the class size. So if you have the frequency density and you have the class size, you can be able to find the missing frequency. So that's exactly what we are going to do in order to work out the frequency in this part. So we are going to check what is from 10 to 15. 10 to 15, the class size there, the class size here is 5. But for 10 to 15, what is the frequency density? Frequency density here is 7. So which means the frequency will be frequency density times class size. So which means that is 7 times 5. Yeah, 7 times 5, which will be frequency of 35. For this one, you can see this is 7.8 and the class size is 5. So it will be 7.8 times 5, which is 39. For this one, the class size is going to be 10. It's larger. So it's going to, the class size here is 30 minus 20, which is 10. But the frequency density, you can read it here, is 5.6, and if you multiply you get 56. Then we have here the frequency, but the table is missing. So for us to work out, to fill in this table, we need to find the frequency density. 30 divided by 30, and the frequency density is going to be 1. So we shall draw a bar which is running like that up to 1 like that. So basically that's what you do in order to answer that question. Now we have answered to do a question completing the table, completing the histogram, and there will be another question that you can be asked. One of the people working the store is chosen at random, a question to do with probability from a histogram. So we are told that a person is chosen at random. Work out an estimate of the probability the distance traveled by this person in order to get to work was greater than 25 kilometers. So you are supposed to go for greater than 25 kilometers. 25 is here. We find the frequency of people by doing the area of this histogram will give us the frequency plus the frequency on this side. So here the frequency is what? Here the frequency is basically, here is 30. There were 30 people. So we need to know in this one also how many people are here. To get the number of people is the class size that we have here, which is actually going to be 25. That is going to be 5. And the frequency density is 7, is 5.6. 5.6 times 5, we shall get the total number of people in that case is going to be 5.6 times 5 plus 30, and we shall get 58. But the total number of people in this case study that was done here, the total number of people, you're gonna get them by adding all the frequency together. So that will be 200. There were 200 people, and then the probability will be 58 over 200, and the answer is going to be 29 over 100 as that case. Don't forget to check also question to do with probability, and in that case on probability you'll be told to maybe complete a tree diagram. If this is 7 over 12, it will be 1 minus 7 over 12, which is 5 over 12. And we were told also that there are 15 seeds in the packet of pea, so 8 of these are sunflowers. So for sunflower it will be 8 over 15, and for the other seed will be 7 over 15, and then we shall complete the tree diagram like that. calculate the probability that Aika will take 2 sunflower seeds. So 2 sunflower seeds will be 7/12 times 8/15, and if you work it out, you are going to get 14/45 as the final answer. If you have gotten value from this particular video, consider subscribing so that anytime I'm going to do more tutorials, you'll be notified. And we shall now focus on other papers. For now, we shall stop at that given point. I wish you all the best, good luck, and don't forget to check our Patreon page. Check in our Patreon page, whereby you can be able to access the PDF I've worked on, so that you can be able to download it and work on it. See you in the next video.